Hello to everyone. Greetings. Happy birthday to Larry. Yom Holedet Sameach. And I noticed Shoshana Dembitz in the chat. Tenachuma min hashamayim in your morning. Wonderful to have so many old friends and people gathered from all corners and all states, emotional states right now for this time of learning and practice from wherever you are, emotionally and geographically. I'd like to invite you to just be here, for a few minutes. And so I'd like to begin with a call and response chant. The response, where for me will be silent, but I hope you'll actually say the word out loud. Just whatever I sing, it'll be either Hineni, which means here I am, or the English word here I am. So please just follow after me. Hineni, hineni, hineni. Here I am. Our attention and our intention is just to rest in being right here. Hineni, here I am. And where are we in the Jewish spiritual calendar? As Rabbi Josh mentioned, it's the 16th of Adar. We're past Purim and Shushan Purim, and we are less than a month to Pesach, to Passover. And in the Babylonian Talmud, we have a teaching, Shoalin v'dorshin bilchot haPesach. One questions and searches the laws of Passover 30 days before Passover. So we're already in this motion, this movement towards Passover. But the motion and the movement is shoalin v'dorshin, questioning, searching. Now, for some people to hear that we are less than a month to Passover brings up all kinds of feelings. And if you're one of them, I invite you just to notice that. Notice what that feels like. For some people, the physical preparations of Passover bring up a lot of thoughts, feelings, sensations. For some, they are already looking at their kitchens and targeting all of the chametz, the pasta and the bread, and deciding, how can I use this up? How can I get rid of it? For some, they're thinking about their whole house, cleaning and clearing rooms and cars and books and backpacks. But I'd like to invite you just to take a deep, conscious breath and invite you to think about, to consider what it might look like to prepare for Passover on the inside. Shoalin v'dorshin, questing and searching. Maybe preparing on the inside doesn't require chemical detergents, brooms, and efforting. Maybe it only asks that you release the known and the habitual, that you clear out the thoughts of this is just how I am, or this is how it just has to be. Releasing those thoughts into shoalin, questing, questioning, curiosity. What is? What might be? My friend Rabbi Daniel Brenner wrote a poem called The Wicked Child, which turns the Haggadah in kind of a Purim move, literally upside down and backwards. I'd like to read it to you and then introduce our practice. The Wicked Child. I read the Haggadah backwards this year. The sea opens, the ancient Israelites slide back to Egypt like Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk. Freedom to slavery, that's the real story. 1 minute you're dancing hallelujah, shaking your hips to the jangle of the prophetess's tambourines. The next you're knee deep in brown muck in the basement of some minor pyramid. The angel of death comes back to life. 2 zuzim are refunded. When armies emerge from the sea like a returning scuba expedition, the Pharaoh calls out for the towel boy. The bread has plenty of time to rise. I read the Haggadah backwards this year. Left a future Jerusalem, scrubbed off the bloody doorposts, wandered back to Aram. With an intention of clearing. And it's hard to clear without effort, right? Maybe your first thought was like, oh, push other things out. But that's not our practice. Our practice, instead of efforting into clearing, is simply to bring our attention to an anchor. So I invite you to be comfortable in whatever posture you are choosing for this practice. And for our practice of release and clearing, I'd like to invite you to decide what sensation of the body, if there's a specific sensation of the body you'd like to pay attention to, or if you'd like to pay attention to the flow of your breath, or if you'd like to pay attention to the sounds around you, I'd like to invite you to pick one of those as your anchor for this sit. Not doing anything else, just being and noticing what is true in the sensations of the body, the flow of the breath, the sounds that arise and fall away. And so we're going to practice just being and noticing right here in this moment. Hineni. Allowing established thought patterns to release and clear as we bring our focused attention to the body or the breath or the sounds of the now. And when thoughts come, as they inevitably will, we're going to greet them kindly once we notice they are there. And then, if you like, we're going to allow them to float away and let them go and return our attention to our anchor, to the sensations of the body, the in and out of the breath, or the sounds around us. This is how we will start to practice liberation now, incrementally, one breath, one moment, one sensation at a time. What spaciousness might you find? We'll practice. Hineni, hineni, hineni. Here I am. I'd like to invite you to notice for a moment, how do you feel right now? What did you experience in our practice together? And what are the present sensations in your body? What is your present emotional state? And I'd like to just remind you that you're able to do this for a moment anytime during your day, to pause, take a breath, and notice what is true, and perhaps clear some space into true spaciousness. Wishing you a spacious day and a spacious preparation for a truly liberating Passover.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. We will have a chance to have some to reflect on and ask some questions and talk about the practice and the teaching in just a moment. And if you need to leave us, we wish you a tzeitzchem l'shalom. Hope you can come back just as soon as you can. We'll be back here same time, same channel tomorrow. Before we get to the conversation, though, those who are saying Kaddish, who are remembering loved ones, if you want to put the name of anyone who you're holding in mind or heart into the chat, we'll also put up the text of the mourner's Kaddish as well. And I'll invite you, if you'd like to unmute yourself, you can join me in reciting the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabba
Rabba,
v'alma
Alma
divrach
Divrach,
shirutei
Shute
v'yamlichut
Vyamlik,
shtei
Shute,
v'yechon
Vayakon,
v'chayei
V'chayei,
l'chol Beit
L'chol Beit
Yisrael
Israel,
v'agala
Agala,
b'zman
B'zman
kaviv
Kaviv,
v'imru
V'imru
amen.
Amen,
Hey
Amen. Hey
Shmei
Shmei
Rabba
Rabba,
Varach
Varach,
Ba'olam
Ba'olam,
Le'olam
Le'olam,
Yitbarach
Yistabach,
v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yit'olam v'yitnaseh
V'yitadar,
v'yit'hadar v'yit'ale
V'yitale,
v'yit'ala
V'yit'ala,
Shmei
V'yit'ala,
v'chadashav v'yichu
Ta'ela
Ve'ela
Mikol,
v'chata
V'chata,
v'shirata
V'shirata,
v'chach
V'nechamata,
v'nechamecha
Ta'aran, Hama,
v'menan
V'yirmane,
v'chama v'imru
Hey, Shalom, Rabba
Amen.
Minshmaya,
Amen. Rava
Amin,
v'yishma
Aleinu,
v'chol aleinu v'yisrael
Amen.
v'imru amen.
Shalom, Shalom,
Aseh
V'Roma,
shalom v'imra
Uyatu,
v'ya'aseh
Shalom
shalom
Aleinu,
aleinu
V'Kol
v'yibnei
Yisrael,
Yisrael
V'Kol Yishmael,
v'yamlichu
V'Kol
amen.
Yoshvei Tevel, V'Imru, Amen.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And we'll bring Dorothy back here for a little conversation. Would love to, invite folks in the chat to share what arose for you as you were experiencing our practice together, and any questions that you might have as well. Dorothy, it's interesting. The timing is funny because my podcast this morning was on the same topic. It was also about doing a few in a row on Pesach, but more on chametz, especially, but similarly, the preparations not only in the kitchen, obviously, right? I think is the key line, and the availability of this practice, of this liberation really at any time. And I wonder for you as you're, we're turning the bend now and looking towards Pesach coming up. How are you approaching? There's a lot that is weighing, that is feeling constricting and pressuring in our lives, in the world, in your own life, perhaps. And I guess I'd just like to invite you, if you want to share at all, like how you're holding that and how your practice is helping you right now. Yeah, if you'd like to reflect on that at all.
Thanks. Baruch Shekivanti, that we are both talking about these things, but it's in the air, the 16th of Adar. I have noticed that my practice gives me clarity, and not sometimes kind of like an overarching, um, earth shaking kind of change clarity, but just clarity about what's true now. And that's what I always teach from. So my clarity, happily, you cannot see my whole area. I'm sitting on my sitting cushion and I've got a table, and the table on which my computer rests while I'm on my cushion has a bunch of books and papers on it. And I realized that, and to the right of me are like stacks of books that don't fit into my bookshelves anymore. And I realized that I really need to make space for liberation, for newness. And my sense of Pesach cleaning isn't, isn't dirt or schmutz, right? But I think it's actually true for me that in order to get new ideas, new space to create new ideas, new thoughts, try new things on, I need to actually not only take the books and papers off of my table, but after I finish this, it'll come back sometimes when I teach from my cushion, but I don't want a table next to my cushion. I want my cushion to be my cushion. And that's kind of like the overarching Adar into Nisan, this 30 days Shoalin Vadorshin, for me is really about clearing. And in the same way as I said in the, instructions for the meditation, you don't actually release by saying release, 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 you release by focusing on the breath. Oh, in breath, out breath. And then you realize whatever you were holding on to isn't there anymore. Right. So I want to make room for newness, make room for true liberation. And that's, now I've just said it to all of you, and that just made it stronger, that intention. Now I'm going to actually have to do it.
We can all check in with you in a couple of months. Yeah, how's it going? That's great. That's great. There was a question, a lot of good comments coming in here. There was a question, I had the same question as Karen, about the poem that you shared from Daniel Brenner. Um, yeah, and I'm curious to hear from everybody else, like how that speaks this inversion of doing it backwards. And yeah, I just invite you to reflect on that. It's a lot to reflect on there.
Thank you. I have a storehouse of poetry, and I'm kind of wondering myself why I picked that particular one. And I think that it's actually because I'm feeling, when I was preparing for this, which was still in Purim time or Shushan Purim time, I still think I was in that kind of like upside down feeling. And so there was something that really appealed to me about turning things upside down. But I also feel that with Passover, sometimes in the Haggadah, in the telling of the story at the Seder, it's really easy to get stuck into telling the same story. Oh, this worked really well last year, let's do it again. Or this is more probably, this is the way my grandfather did it. And so that's how we're doing it, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like there's even a danger in the Haggadah with the arc that is set in it, that you feel like at the end you did it, right? Okay, now we're out of Egypt, right? Now the story's over. And that I don't think is true in any way. I don't even think that's the liberation we're talking about. And
Mhm.
anyone who keeps reading in the Torah past the crossing of the sea sees that, like, by no means are the challenges over, you know. Um, and so I really like this idea of moving back and forth. And I especially liked the last line of the poem, going all the way back with Abraham to Aram, to before his call for Lech Lecha and going out and creating the Jewish people, and just thinking, if we really can get back to the truth of ourselves, of our people, of our meaning in this world, what
Right.
might we find? What might we really liberate from and liberate into?
Hmm. Well, yeah, it's really beautiful. I mean, it's funny because what arose for me as you were saying that, at the end of the Haggadah in our family, there's the text at the very end of the Haggadah before all the songs, but like the last step near Tzah, right? There's a song we usually sing in Chasel Sidur Pesach, right? We did the Seder, all the halachas, we did everything. It's great, we did it. And then what do we? It goes right into L'Shana Haba'ah B'Yerushalayim Habnuyah, which is really, I don't think I wouldn't take that as a political song. I think that's saying, and guess what? Everything you just did, it actually is only in service of something that is repairing something that's broken, right? And trying to and continually trying, and we're not there yet. It's asymptotic. We just did this whole Seder and we didn't actually get there yet. Um, so, but we can get so wound up sometimes in the comfort of the ritual, right? For those of us who might have grown up with it and who have, I have my father's Haggadah, and like there's something so comforting and nostalgic in that, and all, and in what ways is that serving our liberation, and in what ways might it actually be inhibiting? I think that's a way of asking the question that you're posing. Yeah.
Yeah, it occurs to me, I've struggled with being in the diaspora and doing two Seders. It's kind of like, oh my God, we already did that. Like, now, oh, it's new. No, we just did it,
Yeah.
and especially for those of us who put a lot of work into making it happen and to, creating the food and the setting and the invitations. Like, it's a lot of work. And then, twice in a row can be a lot. And this is reminding me that actually, in a way, it's the second Seder that reminds you, yeah, we didn't. We we have to start over every time. And then,
Mhm.
of course, right at the end of the second Seder, in case you didn't get the message, then you start the count of the Omer, reminding you that getting out of Egypt is just the beginning of your spiritual climb to revelation, right? And so I might say, like, all of this clearing, right, is to make that new beginning, to get the clutter out, right? The psychic, the physical, the any clutter we can remove so we can be on that path to then, receive revelation, which is what we're really looking forward, to, is is clarity about what our purpose is, you know, to meet the divine
Yeah.
challenge in this world.
I sometimes think that one of the big challenges is that the like in every movie that's made, whether it's the Ten Commandments or the Prince of Egypt or whatever, that the story is all about getting out of Egypt because like it's a great story, right? And awesome, and you get across the sea and like, oh, right, great, so great. But I think it's Isaiah Berlin I'm thinking of, but the difference between freedom from and freedom to, right? The freedom from something is one thing, but that only then opens up another question. The question of the Omer and towards Shavuot is like the freedom to do what, right? It's not enough to be free from the oppression. It has to be freedom directed towards something else. And so I love the idea of chametz as like the clutter. It's the spiritual clutter to open up the space to then be able to get clear on, well, what is the freedom to do? Yeah. Is getting out of Egypt like getting out of a lousy relationship or job? It's a great question, Rona. Yeah. Um, it sounds to me like you're answering your own question. That question.
In some ways, getting out of Egypt, like it's just, I think, leaving. It's the next step. It's like it's the first step in a lot of other steps. One of my favorite things, again, in Exodus is right after we cross the sea, right? Because we leave Egypt, okay. Like, how do we leave Egypt? We need a miracle. A lot of people don't want to leave Egypt. A lot of people aren't really thinking about leaving Egypt. They just get in with the crowd. Like, there's a lot of there's not one way to leave Egypt, right? That's one thing to say. But the first thing that we see from the people, Israel, on the other side of the sea, is they're complaining because they're thirsty, right? And so to me, this is another reminder. It's like moment to moment liberation, moment to moment clarity. We're not going for the cinematic here. That's not what we do in our practice. We are moment to moment listening for the next truth, for the current truth, right? For the Hineni moment.
Laura asked a question, as we clear the internal clutter, what is a mindful path or the mindful path? What is blank mindful path to discover the destination for the freedom to? Okay. I mean, I think, Laura, that you should take awareness and action with Mark. But I think the Omer in some ways is like, at least the way that we try to practice the Omer, I think is very much a response to that question, starting with that clearing and then saying, all right, beginning with chesed and going through and building, through this journey, discerning what that freedom to or what that destination is. Yeah, but yeah, nice. Good job, Rachel. Oh, there's the source sheet. Okay, yeah.
I might also just say maybe it's all the same thing.
Mhm.
Maybe there's actually no difference in all of these steps and all of this, that we are putting onto it. Maybe it's all the same liberation, it's all the same revelation. And it's as simple as being here and listening.
Mhm.
And what we do communally together as Jews is we allow ourselves the support to turn our attention in certain ways. What might liberation be now? What might revelation be now? And through the communal support we get, and through our rituals, we might, have, and through this Jewish spiritual calendar, there might be special like spiritual energies that come to us in these moments. But in terms of our practice, it might be the simplest thing possible.
Mhm. It's a beautiful note to end on. Thank you so much, Dorothy. Beautiful, wise teaching as always. And thank you everybody for the discussion in the chat. Really wonderful. We will be back here tomorrow, same time and channel. And until then, wish you Tzetchem L'Shalom, farewell, and we'll see you soon.